David Bonter. Mr. Bonter is present in the courtroom with the attorney, Mr. Greer. People are represented by Mr. Stagg. We are set for sentencing here today, and the court has been advised that there are a number of people that want to speak on their own behalf. There's a number of people that want to have statements read into the record. Is that correct, Mr. Stagg?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. And it's also my understanding that some of the individuals are Spanish speaking, so we do have the assistance of interpreter Donna Boss here with us today. And Ms. Boss, would you stand and raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear, oath, or affirm that you will make a true, accurate, and impartial translation from English to Spanish and Spanish to English?
I do.
Thank you. All right. I think the best way to start here today is the court would like to hear from the individuals that would like to speak on their own behalf. The first one that I have on my list would be Susana Castillo.
Yep.
Your Honor, does the court wish us to stand while this is going?
Right here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Teresa Hendricks. I'm the attorney and executive director of Migrant Legal Aid, and we are assisting the victims. And Ms. Castillo has a short clip of the 911 call that she would like the defendant and the court to hear. And we can play it by audio before she speaks. It's very short.
Okay. And are the parties okay if Ms. McKee doesn't have to translate or transcribe the 911 call?
Yeah.
I am, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Can I hit play before it goes back to his thumbprint?
Right.
Yeah, but when you get my shooting, bro, he's shooting. Just stand up. He's shooting. He's shooting. I need to run away, man. Run away.
That was one of several calls.
Thank you. All right, and your name for the record, please, ma'am?
Susana Castillo.
Susana Castillo.
Go ahead, Ms. Castillo.
Yo soy una de las personas que vivía en la casa donde ocurrió el tiroteo.
I'm one of the persons who live in the house where the shooting happened.
El día del tiroteo estábamos celebrando el cumpleaños del hijo de un amigo.
The day of the shooting, we were celebrating the birthday of a friend's son.
Ellos me pidieron permiso de celebrar el cumpleaños de su niño en mi casa,
They asked me for permission to celebrate the birthday party at my house,
puesto que ellos viven en un parqueadero de trailers y no tenían suficiente espacio para celebrar el cumpleaños de su niño.
because they live in a trailer park and they do not have sufficient space to have the party for their child.
Ellos planearon hacer una celebración en grande, puesto que era el primer año de su niño.
They planned to have a great celebration for this birthday because it was their child's first birthday.
Los invitados estaban tan contentos celebrando, puesto que era ambiente familiar.
The people were there were so happy celebrating because it was a family atmosphere,
Todos estaban, pero nadie esperaba lo que iba a pasar.
but nobody expected what was going to happen.
Alrededor de las 9 de la noche,
Around 9 o'clock at night,
yo fui al baño
I went to the bathroom,
y mientras estaba ahí escuché truenos muy fuertes en las paredes de la casa.
and when I was there, I heard thunder noises really loudly in the walls of the house,
A los cuales no presté atención porque pensaba que algún niño había golpeado la pared de la casa con una roca o
I
algo así.
didn't pay attention to those because I thought maybe a child had hit the side of the house with a rock or something.
Cuando salí del baño,
When I came out of the bathroom,
mi hija, muy asustada, me dijo que mi hijo
my daughter was very afraid, scared, and she told me that my son
que se encontraba descansando en el segundo piso donde se encuentra su cuarto,
was resting upstairs on the second floor where his room is.
había bajado muy asustado diciendo a su papá
He had come down really scared, saying to his dad
que alguien estaba tirando balazos a la casa,
that somebody was shooting at the house.
que una de las balas había atravesado su cabecera de su cama,
One of the bullets had gone through the headboard of his bed,
en donde él estaba acostado descansando después de salir de trabajar.
where he was laying down resting after getting out of work.
Mi esposo subió a ver
My husband went up to look, upstairs to look,
y asegurarse de lo que estaba diciendo mi hijo
and to make sure of what my son was saying,
era real.
if it was real.
Cuando él confirmó que era cierto,
When he confirmed that it was certain and true,
que las perforaciones que estaban en la cabecera de la cama
the perforations that were in the headboard of the bed
y en las paredes del cuarto de mi hijo eran causados por balas,
and in the walls of my son's bedroom, they were caused by bullets.
corrió a avisarme y avisar a toda la gente que estaba en la fiesta.
He ran downstairs to inform me and all the people who were at the party.
En la fiesta habían más de 50 personas, incluyendo niños.
There were more than 50 people at that party, including children.
Yo le entregué el teléfono a mi hijo
I handed the phone to my son
y le pedí que llamara al 911.
and I told him to call 911.
Yo solo pensaba en mis dos hijos más pequeños
I was just thinking about my two youngest children
que estaban en el trampolín,
who were on the trampoline,
que estaba situado en el lado donde venían los balazos.
and that was situated in the place where the bullets were coming from.
El trampolín estaba lleno de niños.
The trampoline was full of children.
La gente empezó a correr
The people started to run,
y yo solo quería encontrar a mis hijos,
and I just wanted to find my children.
los cuales mi esposo ya había subido al carro.
And my husband had already put them in the car.
En ese momento yo no sabía dónde se encontraban
At that moment, I didn't know where they were,
y quise correr a donde estaba el trampolín
and I wanted to run to where the trampoline was
cuando empezó otra ráfaga de balazos,
when another round of bullets or shots started.
los cuales nosotros podíamos sentir cómo pasaban por al lado de nosotros.
And we could feel them as they went by us.
Mi esposo me jaló y los dos caímos al piso
My husband pulled me and both of us fell to the ground,
y sentimos cómo las balas golpeaban el piso cerca de nosotros.
and we felt like the bullets were hitting the ground near us.
Mis hijos estaban en el carro
My children were in the car,
y ellos miraron cuando mi esposo y yo caímos al piso.
and they saw when my husband and I fell to the ground.
Esto fue un momento muy traumático para mis hijos,
That was a very traumatic moment for my children.
porque ellos pensaron
They thought
que su papá y su mamá los habían matado.
their mom and dad had been killed.
Estas fueron las palabras de mi hijo de 8 años.
That was the words of my 8-year-old son.
Yo no puedo entender cómo el acusado no tiene cargos
I don't
de
under-
intento de asesinato,
I don't understand why the accused doesn't have charges of attempted murder.
porque aunque digan que no intentó matar a nadie,
Because even if he says he didn't intend to kill anyone,
los hechos demuestran otra cosa.
the acts show another thing.
La primera ráfaga de balazos que ellos descargaron hacia nosotros
The first round of bullets that they discharged towards us,
lo hicieron desde su casa,
they did it from their house.
pero la segunda ráfaga de balazos que ellos descargaron contra
But the
nosotros,
second round of bullets that they shot off towards us,
ellos cruzaron la carretera,
they crossed the highway,
atravesaron un campo de maíz
they crossed through a cornfield,
y una vez que ellos estaban lo suficientemente cerca,
and then when they were sufficiently close to us,
empezaron a tirar balazos indiscriminadamente.
they started to shoot off bullets indiscriminately.
Y digo ellos,
And they said,
and I say they, y yo digo ellos,
and I say to them,
porque según el testimonio de varias personas,
according to the testimony of several people,
habían 2 personas entre el campo de maíz,
there were 2 people in the cornfield,
sosteniendo una lámpara cada quien.
each one holding a light, flashlight.
El acusado dijo que en ese momento
The defendant said that at that moment,
se sintió frustrado
he felt frustrated
porque acababa de llegar de trabajar
because he had just gotten home from work
y el ruido de la música alteró a sus perros.
And the noise from the music, the noise from the music upset its dogs.
Por eso hizo lo que hizo.
And that's what he did.
Él ni siquiera nos dio la oportunidad
He didn't even give us the opportunity
de ser nada al respecto,
to do anything about it.
de haber sabido que él estaba molesto por el ruido.
If we had known that he was upset because of the noise,
Nosotros hubiéramos bajado el volumen de la música,
we would have lowered the volume of the music.
pero en vez de eso,
But instead of that,
nos dejó saber su molestia
he let us know about him being upset.
él decidió silenciarnos a tiros.
He decided to silence us with shots.
Ahora mis hijos tienen un trauma tan grande
Now my children have such a great trauma
que he necesitado llevarlos con psicólogos
that I've needed to take them to psychologists
para que les ayude a entender lo que pasó
to help them understand what happened
y superar ese trauma.
and get over this trauma.
Se me parte el corazón a ver a mi hijo más pequeño
It tore my heart to see my youngest son,
que cumplirá años en pocos días.
who was going to have a birthday in a few days,
Se despierta llorando
to wake up crying
porque ahora en vez de tener hermosos sueños e ilusiones
because now instead of having beautiful dreams and emotions
que él tenía para celebrar su cumpleaños,
that he had about celebrating his birthday,
ahora tiene pesadillas al soñar
now he has nightmares about
que en su fiesta de cumpleaños
he has nightmares about the fact that in his birthday party,
dos hombres empiezan a disparar
two men are going to start shooting
y matan a sus papás.
and they're going to kill his parents.
Mi otro hijo, después del tiroteo,
My other son, after the shooting,
la psicóloga me dijo
the psychologist told me
que padece de paranoia.
that he suffers from paranoia.
Él se la pasa viendo por la ventana,
He spends his time looking out the window,
creyendo que en cualquier momento
believing that at any moment
vendrán a hacernos daño.
they're going to come hurt us.
El 4 de julio, mientras todos celebran,
On the 4th of July, while everybody was celebrating,
él está en pánico creyendo que los fuegos artificiales
he was in panic thinking that the fireworks
son balazos.
were bullets or shots.
Después del tiroteo,
After the shooting,
mis dos hijos más pequeños
my two youngest sons,
no han vuelto a dormir en sus cuartos
they've not gone back to sleep in their rooms
porque tienen mucho miedo quedarse solos.
because they're very afraid of being alone.
Han llegado a dormir con cuchillos debajo de sus almohadas.
They've started sleeping with knives under their pillows.
Según ellos, para defenderse si alguien intenta hacerles daño.
According to them, it's in case somebody tries to hurt them.
Y me da pánico pensar que ellos puedan llegar a lastimarse.
It gives me it makes me panic to think that they could hurt themselves
Por accidente,
by accident,
puesto que uno de mis hijos
because one of my sons
tiene trastornos de sueño
has nightmares or sleeping problems,
y se levanta dormido por las noches.
and he wakes up with sleepwalking at night.
Por esa razón,
And for that reason,
por seguridad,
for our security,
nosotros los dormimos en nuestros cuartos.
we have them sleep in our room.
Y sí,
And yes,
gracias a Dios que es muy grande,
thanks to God, who is very great,
no lograron matar a nadie
they didn't manage to kill anybody
físicamente.
physically.
Pero sí les puedo asegurar
But I can assure you
que a mis hijos
that to my sons,
les mataron las ilusiones de celebrar sus fiestas de
they
cumpleaños.
killed the illusions of being able to celebrate their birthday.
Mataron sus ganas de convivir con la gente,
They killed their desires to live with people.
mataron su inocente infancia
They killed their childish innocence
que todo niño merece.
that every children deserve, all children deserve.
Ellos ya ni siquiera salen para afuera
They don't even want to go outside
a jugar con su
to
perro,
play with their dog
porque los vecinos
because the neighbors
tienen derecho a tener armas,
have the right to have weapons,
aunque intentaron matarnos.
even though they tried to kill us.
Ellos también tienen derecho a seguir disparando,
They also have the right to keep on shooting,
inclusive cuando mis hijos están afuera esperando el autobús escolar,
even when my children are outside waiting for the school bus,
haciéndoles entrar en pánico nuevamente.
making them get panicked again.
porque al parecer el derecho de tener armas es más importante que proteger
Because it seems like the right to have weapons is more important than to protect
el bienestar físico y emocional de las
the
personas.
physical and emotional well-being of people.
Es muy fácil intentar matar a docenas de personas,
It's really easy to try to kill dozens of people,
incluyendo niños,
including children.
y en su defensa
And in their defense,
decir que fue un momento de rabia o coraje,
they said it was a moment of anger.
pero ahora díganos a nosotros,
But now tell us,
las
the
víctimas,
victims,
cómo superamos este trauma,
how are we supposed to get over this trauma?
cómo podemos seguir
How are we going to keep on
con nuestras vidas normalmente,
going with our lives normally
sin pensar que estuvimos a punto
without thinking that we were at the point
de que nos mataran
of being killed
o que mataran a nuestros
or
hijos.
that they would kill our children?
Yo ni siquiera he podido dormir
I've not even been able to sleep
con tranquilidad
peacefully
desde ese día.
since that day.
Mi salud mental y física
My physical and mental health
han estado afectadas poco a poco.
have been affected little by little.
Todas las noches pienso
All night, every night, I think.
que mi hijo mayor estaba acostado en su cama
I think that my oldest son was lying down in his bed
cuando una bala atravesó su cabecera,
when a bullet went through his headboard,
pasando centímetros de su cabeza.
passing centimeters away from his head.
Otra bala atravesó el colchón de su cama.
Another bullet went through his mattress.
Miré cómo mi hija estaba parada en la puerta del basement
I saw how my daughter was standing in the door of the basement
cuando una bala atravesó la puerta.
when a bullet went through the door.
Y mis niños más pequeños traumados viendo
And my youngest children traumatized watching
todo lo que estaba pasando.
all that was happening.
Lo único que me mantiene fuerte y sin quebrarme
The only thing that keeps me strong and not breaking
en mil pedazos son mis
in,
hijos.
in pieces are my children.
Por eso estoy aquí el día de hoy
That's why I'm here today,
reclamando justicia por ellos,
demanding justice for them.
porque ellos ni nadie tenía que pasar por todo lo que pasaron.
Because neither they nor anyone else needed to go through this, this problem.
Solo por divertirnos
Just because we were enjoying ourselves
y querer pasar momentos agradables con
and we wanted
familiares
to
y
have
amigos.
some pleasant moments with our family and friends.
Thank you. Denise Montez? Can you state your name first, please, sir?
My name is Luis Montes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The events that happened on May 8th are a gross example of how some people shouldn't be able to own firearms, especially if they can't control their emotions enough to simply politely ask their neighbors if they could turn down the music before starting to throw rounds our way. I just come here today to ask that justice be served correctly without any bias, and that the trauma that he made us pass through, me and my family and others that were there, are all taken into account when deciding what's going to happen to him.
Thank you, sir. Can I have a seat? Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Andrea Garza?
Am I able to ask a question?
Well, rhetorically, I mean, he's not allowed to answer you back, but you know, if you have questions that you're wondering, you can pose them to him, but he's not going to answer. He may when he gets his chance to speak, but he won't do it right now.
Okay. I wanted to ask him what his intentions were that night. Were they to kill people? Was it just out of anger? Drunk? I mean, he was able to call 911 and said the Mexicans, they need to turn their music down. To me, that's more of a racist remark. So my question is, why? What were his intentions? all these people that are sitting back there are traumatized from the events that happened that night. I was there, I had my baby there, my boyfriend was there. I had left the party and came back. When I came back, I was getting out of the car, grabbing my baby out of the car and changing her diaper there in the car seat there. And I was almost in the line of fire. There was a slider door that was shot. I was probably just a little bit out of line of that line of fire. So that would have hit, it could have hit me, it could have hit my baby. I have other kids that are at home. I could have been killed. I could have left these children without a mother. All these people that were there, all the kids that were there, kids could have been hit. The adults could have been hit. The intention to me was to go and kill people. And like Luis said, these people should not have a right to have firearms if they cannot control their anger, if they're going to go and shoot at other people. All these people have to deal with all the issues that happened that night. It wasn't a one night thing. It has now become a life issue, a problem that these people deal with, that they go out, they're scared to go out. They hear noises, they're scared of those noises. Justice needs to be done, and he needs to be kept here in jail as long as he can, because that's almost attempted murder on how many people that were there, 50, 60 some people that were there. I just would like to see justice done. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Giovanni Avila.
Morning, Your Honor. I'm attorney Molly Spock. Giovanni has prepared a statement, but he's a little intimidated to read it. Would you mind if I read it for him? It's short.
Okay.
I have here with me Giovanni Avila Chavez. And Giovanni says, I find myself more nervous after the attack on my son's birthday. I definitely have avoided groups and gatherings because I don't want anything like that to ever happen again. I've lost the enjoyment in my life, and when I'm out in public doing something fun, I constantly have a worry in the back of my head that something like this could happen. I try not to be in public, and I've avoided large groups with strangers. I don't want this to ever happen to anyone else. I have trouble sleeping at night because I'm so anxious, and I have constant running thoughts of what happened to me. I personally feel guilty for the incident because it was my son's birthday party. Thank you.
¿Qué cosas quería decir? Bueno, sí. Apenas tuve un sueño donde mi hijo le daban unos tiros.
I just had a dream about them shooting my son in the head,
Y lo agarro, lo cargo y dan, ¿cómo se llama?
and I see him, and
Da miedo, da coraje
it makes me afraid, makes me angry.
a que uno, bueno, fue un sueño.
It was a dream, right?
Y
But
alzo uno que le entra unos coraje de
that
quién fue o
somebody, whoever's
buscar-
anger it was,
¿A poco no tiene que esperar a que hieran o maten a alguien para que ellos hagan algo?
you don't have to wait, we don't have to wait until they kill someone before you do something.
Eso fue un sueño de lo que vimos.
It was a dream that I had, but
Y lo bueno que no pasó nada.
the good thing is that nothing happened,
Pero, digo,
that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
That's,
Teofila Chavez.
Your Honor, would you mind if I did the same thing again?
Okay, sure.
I have here with me Teofila Chavez. And Teofila says, I wake up scared at night because I was the one who was holding the baby whose birthday it was. I thought I was truly going to die. I thought I was going to die with this young 1-year-old in my arms. We all threw ourselves on the ground to hide and shield ourselves from the bullets. And I truly wonder what would have happened if one bullet
would have hit me, or worse, hit the baby that I was holding. I'm afraid constantly to go out of the house where the party was because I think it will happen again. Thank you.
Yo soy la abuelita del bebé que
I'm the grandmother of the baby.
ese día que pasó eso yo lo traía lanzando,
Okay.
lo traía cargando.
The day that it happened, I was
Y
carrying
cuando
him.
se oyó la balacera,
And when the shooting started,
pues traté de cubrir al bebé, me tiré al suelo y traté de
I tried to
cubrir al
cover
bebé.
the baby. I threw myself on the ground and tried to cover the baby.
Pues sí, pues todos los niños se asustaron, corrieron, después se tiraron
All
al
the
suelo.
children were
Y yo no
afraid and
sabía qué
running.
hacer, pues eran muchos niños.
I
se
didn't know what to do.
desesperaron.
There were many children there.
No poder hacer algo para cubrir a todos los
I couldn't
niños,
do
para
anything to
protegerlos.
cover all the children to protect them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Nicholas Chavez Hernandez.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, he didn't make it today.
Okay. Maria Cruz Mesquite.
I have here with me Maria Dolores Cruz Mesquite, and Maria says, I suffer from many symptoms after this night. I'm constantly afraid and I'm confused whenever I hear loud noises. I automatically think that it's a gunman every time I hear something loud, especially if it's off in the distance. That causes my body to start shaking and my hands start moving really quickly. To this day, I have violent flashbacks to the event, and I have violent and scary pictures that run through my mind where I see the shooter coming out of the woods and running after us. This makes me feel incredibly afraid and anxious and totally alone. I feel lucky and praise God that I'm alive because I was so close to those bullets.
We want justice and we want you to help us so that this man pays for scaring us. We all are having these nightmares. We can't sleep. We can't sleep peacefully thinking about the children that were there, the people. I'm the mother of the child whose birthday it was. I get panicked. I try to think of what could happen to the people who were invited. I think they should punish him for something he did. Thank God nothing happened greater than this.
Thank you. Roman Hernandez.
I have here today Roman Hernandez, and Roman would like to say, it's an absolutely horrible memory that I have. And since then, whenever I'm at another party, or if I'm in a group where the group is primarily Hispanic, I'm afraid that it could happen again. Sometimes I'll hear a loud noise, and it will just be a car, but that noise terrifies me. I hope this never, ever happens again to anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. So with that, Hernandez Lopez,
Sorry, Your Honor, she's not here as well.
Maria Hernandez Paz,
She's not here as well, Your Honor.
Eden Lopez, Esvin Rafael Lopez. No, okay. Alida Martinez Santiago.
Your Honor, we'd like to have Max. Max is a fluent Spanish speaker, if that's okay.
I'm Max Counter. I'm a board member of Migrant Legal Aid.
I'm sorry, can you say your last name again?
Counter, CUNTER.
What's your position, sir?
I'm a board member of
Board member.
Migrant Legal Aid.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I'm here with Alida Martinez Santiago. Says, I feel blessed that I am okay and was not shot. That was one of the scariest events of my life and something I will never forget.
Quiero decir algo.
I want to say something.
Bueno, pues ese día, ¿verdad? Que pasó todo esto,
That day that all this happened,
estábamos todos ahí pasando un rato agradable
we were all there having a good time.
y pues nunca imaginamos, ¿verdad? Que pasaría todo esto
We never imagined, right, that all this would happen.
y pues de alguna manera estoy agradecida con Dios
In some ways, I'm thankful to God
porque no pasó a mayores todo esto,
because something worse didn't happen than this.
aunque a mi esposo por un pequeño paso yo creo le hubieran dado en la pierna
Even though my husband, just for a few inches, it would have hit him in the leg.
Pero solo ahora nos ha quedado, ¿verdad? Pues el susto,
So now the fear remains.
pero ojalá que se pueda hacer justicia
I hope that justice can be done
por todos los que estuvimos ahí en ese momento.
for all of us who were there at that moment.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pedro Cerrito.
I have here today Pedro Matias Ceredo. And Pedro says, I have extreme anxiety and I was very scared during the first weeks after the incident happened. I have flashbacks when certain things will trigger and remind me of the incident. Since then, I have of course avoided parties or gatherings. I become stressed when I think about the attack and I no longer enjoy things like getting together with my family and friends outside of my own home. Anytime I hear a loud noise, it scares me and makes me jump, makes my hands shake and my thoughts race. I immediately start thinking I might die. My mind goes back to that event and my hands will shake and my head can hurt when I feel that anxious. This has affected my life greatly. I hope that justice is served.
Thank you, Mr. Cerrito.
Thank you.
Pues aquí estamos nosotros, porque
We're here right today because
ya que nosotros fuimos a la fiesta del niño,
we went to the child's birthday party.
yo llegué como a las 6 de la tarde
I got there about 6 in the evening.
y nomás éramos como unas 4 personas que estábamos ahí, no había llegado más gente.
There were just like 4 of us there. More people hadn't arrived yet.
Y empecé a escuchar yo ya los balazos, ¿se da cuenta?
And I started to hear the shots
De donde está la casa del que disparó,
where the house is of the person
está un
who was shot.
monte
There was like a hill.
y se me hizo normal, para mí fue normal.
For me, it was normal.
Pero de esa hora empezaron a escucharse ya los balazos.
But at that time, you started to hear the shots.
Y pues para mí eso fue normal,
For me, that was normal.
pero ya en el transcurso del tiempo, como estaba haciendo frío,
But then as the time went by and it was getting cold,
el esposo de la dueña de la casa
the husband of the lady who owned the house
empezó a hacer fuego, lumbre
started to put
para
stuff,
calentarnos.
light fires and light to help warm us.
Y de repente empecé a escuchar como unos cohetes, pero arriba de un árbol grande.
And all of a sudden I started to hear what sounded like fireworks, but above a big tree.
Pero nunca pensé que fueran disparos.
I never thought it was shots, shooting,
Hasta que bajó el hijo de la señora Susana
until the lady Susana's son came down
a avisarnos qué es lo que estaba pasando.
to let us know what was happening.
Entonces, el papá de Luis y
So
yo
then Luis's dad and I,
subimos a la segunda planta
we went up to the second floor
para ver qué es lo que estaba pasando.
to see what was happening.
y claramente vimos cómo el respaldo de la cama
And we clearly saw that the headboard from the bed
tenía una bala incrustada en el respaldo de la
a
cama.
bullet put in the headboard of the bed.
Y en eso bajamos
And then after that, we went
y,
downstairs,
y la esposa de Federico,
and Federico's wife,
Susana, empezó a hablar
Ana Susana, started talking
por teléfono al policía
on the phone to the police.
y no transcurrieron ni 2 minutos cuando
Not even 2 minutes went by when
empezaron los balazos más fuertes.
then more shooting, harder shooting started.
Y a mí por un paso
If
pienso
one-
que me hubiera pegado en una pierna
For one more, if it hadn't taken one more step,
porque
it
la tierra
would have hit me in the leg because the ground,
donde se incrustó la bala
the ground where the bullet went in,
me salpicó hasta el pantalón de tierra
it spread dust
donde
and dirt on
pegó la bala.
my pant leg where the bullet hit.
Lo que hice fue aventarme.
What I did was throw myself down.
A un lado estaba Susana y su esposo.
Susana and her husband were on one side,
Y fue como logramos
and that's
esquivar las balas.
how we managed to dodge the bullets.
Y pues yo pienso que no es algo
And I think
tan fácil que se le ocurrió hacer a la persona,
it was
¿verdad?
such an easy thing for the person to do,
Que por molestia o algo,
because he was
la vida de
upset
una persona no es cualquier cosa.
or something. The life of a person is not just whatever.
Y aquí estamos para que se nos haga justicia.
And we're here to have
Porque
do justice for us.
No esperemos o para que se nos haga justicia hayamos perdido un ser querido.
We're glad that we don't have to ask justice for having lost a loved one.
Por eso estamos aquí
That's why we're here
pidiendo justicia.
asking for justice.
Porque yo ahí tenía reunida a toda mi familia,
Because I had all my family together,
a mis hijas, a mis padres
my
y a mi
daughters,
esposa.
my parents, my wife.
Y gracias a Dios estamos bien.
Thank God we're good.
Pero
Fine.
lo que pedimos es justicia.
But what we're asking for is justice.
Y pues es lo que le puedo decir.
And that's
Gracias.
what I can say to you. Thank you.
One question for you, sir.
Una pregunta para usted, señor.
After you found out that there were shots that went upstairs,
Después de que se enteró de que había unas balas arriba,
and you're back outside,
ustedes fueron afuera.
how many shots do you remember?
¿Cuántas balas se recuerdas después de que salió afuera?
Arriba estaba la del respaldo de la cama,
Upstairs, there was one in the bed,
la del
headboard,
colchón
one in the mattress,
y abajo
and
la que rompió
downstairs,
la puerta, el vidrio de la
it
puerta,
broke the window and the door.
y las que había en la tierra porque ahí se hizo
The ones that were on the ground
y más las que estaban en la pared.
and the ones that were up in the wall.
Fueron varias balas.
There were several bullets.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jacinto Osorio?
Sorry, what was the name, Your Honor?
Jacinto Osorio?
Thank you. Teresa Henderson, Your Honor, and this is Jacinto Matias Rosario. And this is his statement. I worry when I'm at gatherings of people that it will happen again. It takes the fun all out of what I'm doing, and I feel worried and stressed. I love being with friends and family and my community outside, and now I am scared to do so. I tried to not go outside to social events because I was afraid of another attack in the first few months after the attack happened to my friends and family. I am now a more nervous person since the attack.
Sí. Ahí estuvimos en esa fiesta.
We were there at that party.
Estuvo muy feo.
It was really ugly.
Nosotros con mi familia llegamos temprano, como a las 6, 6 y
My
media.
family and I got there early, around 6 or 6:30.
A esa hora empezaron los balazos.
At that time was when the bullets started, the shooting started.
Y ya más tarde, como 7, 8 y media, empecé a escuchar más
And
balazos.
then later, about 7 or 8:30, I started hearing more
Como está un
shooting.
árbol grande,
There's a big tree there.
por ahí se escuchaban los balazos que pasaban.
You could hear the bullets passing through that.
Y más tarde,
And later,
ahí estaba yo con mi hijo, el que pasó ahorita,
I was with
Pedro.
my son who came up here just a minute
Nos
ago.
estábamos
Pedro.
calentando ahí.
We were warming up out
Y yo en
there.
ese rato me fui al baño.
And at that moment, I went to the bathroom.
Y si no, pues ahí estábamos los tres como
And if
ahorita.
not, the three of us
Si
were
no,
there just like we are
A lo
right
mejor a
now.
mí me hubiera tocado el balazo que pasó por ahí.
If I hadn't got left to go to the bathroom, probably that bullet that went by there would have hit me.
Fue una cosa fea, fea.
It was a really ugly.
Y a mí me
ugly
da
thing.
más coraje
And what makes me
porque
angry,
había muchos niños
there
llorando
were a lot of children
y
crying,
señoras llorando ahí, escuchando
ladies,
todo.
women
Estaba
crying,
muy feo.
hearing everything. It was
No fue
really
una
ugly.
cosa fácil, ¿verdad? Fue una cosa fea.
It wasn't an easy thing, it was an ugly
Sí.
thing.
Y yo estoy aquí, pues yo pido justicia por este señor.
And I'm here and I'm asking
No sé
for
qué
justice for
tenía
this
o
man. I don't know
si
what
le
was-
molestaba el ruido, pues hubiera ido a vernos,
I
ahí
don't know what was wrong
estábamos.
with him. If the music bothered him, he should have come and told
Y
us.
nosotros estamos conviviendo sanamente.
We were celebrating health in a healthy way.
Es lo que pido justicia.
That's what I'm asking for, justice.
Es todo,
That's
gracias.
all, thank you.
Cesar Cruz.
This is Cesar Mesquite Cruz, and this is his statement. I was terrified during the attack. The attack was one of the scariest moments of my life. I won't ever forget it. I hope this never happens to anyone else ever again.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Diego Cruz.
This is Diego Mesquite Cruz, and he says, I am anxious, I am worried and afraid of people I do not know. I also worry when I see cars I don't recognize driving near me, that they could be potential shooters and I could be shot at any moment. I avoid parties and groups of people now after the attack. This has been hard on me. Sometimes before I sleep, I will accidentally picture the event and it will keep me up. It was so hard as a father to worry your daughter was going to be shot. I was so scared. It is one of the worst memories and things that has happened to me.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Dulce Montez.
I came here today to share with you all the traumatic experience that me and my family have gone through due to the event that occurred on May 8, 2020. When the accused without a motive and the only excuse was the noise that bothered, annoyed, and frustrated him, he began to shoot at all the people that were gathered together for a birthday party. The frustration he had caused him to shoot more than 1 dozen bullets at all of us. He nearly killed me and my brother, and I could feel the bullets press inches away from me. And I could watch as people as well as little kids running away in pure panic. My parents both scared, trying to find my 2 younger siblings. Those memories that still play over and over in my head and affect me to this day. It has affected me and my family deeply that even in our own house, we can't even go outside to play or even go on walks. I don't feel safe in my own home anymore since that day. Any little noise that I hear makes me start to feel panic in my body, thinking it might be someone trying to hurt us again. That's why I hope that there will be justice for my family and I. Though he didn't physically hurt anyone, his intentions were to harm someone that day. Also, I hope you guys will take into consideration that when his sentencing comes, all the psychological damage that he has caused us. Thank you.
Ms. Montez. Federico Montez.
Stockton. I have here with me Federico Montes. And Federico says, I feel anxious all the time since the attack. Things tend to remind me of it when I'm not even thinking about it. I find myself feeling depressed and getting headaches from all the stress it causes me. Lately, I've been having issues due to sleeping because I'll get awful nightmares and I'll see the gunman coming out of the woods. It was my house that the party was at. Sometimes I picture the gunman coming out of the woods and attacking us again. I no longer enjoy being at parties and I no longer enjoy being at home. My family has since had to sell the house and move because of that attack. I am constantly stressed. I have been avoiding gatherings of people in large parties, and I find myself becoming angrier easier. I struggle to focus at work, and as a family, we've been not getting along, and it's been causing a lot of issues. We lack a lot of communication that existed before the gunman attacked us. My children are afraid every day, and they sleep with knives under their pillows for protection. How can I protect them as their father? They won't go outside anymore and they worry all the time. I want to protect my family as their father. Thank you. ¿Algo quieres decir?
Sí. Buenos días.
Good morning.
Mi nombre es Federico Montes.
My name is Federico Montes.
Soy el padre de Luis Montes,
I'm the father of Luis Montes,
el que se dio cuenta de lo que estaba pasando
he
ese
realized
día
what was happening that day
cuando esa bala atravesó su cama.
when that bullet went through his bed.
Y si no hubiera sido por él,
If it hadn't been for him,
que él nos hubiera avisado lo que estaba pasando,
that he hadn't told us what was going on,
a lo mejor esa persona sí hubiera llegado a matar a alguien.
maybe that person would have managed to kill someone.
Porque cuando él nos avisó,
Because when he informed us,
hicimos lo que tuvimos que hacer de llamarle al 911
we did what we needed to do, call 911.
y apagamos la música.
We lowered the music.
Cuando él escucha que apagamos la
When
música,
he saw that we turned off the music,
fue cuando él volvió a tirar más de 12 balazos
that was when he started shooting more than 12
más
bullets
contra nosotros.
against us, towards us.
Y fue cuando pues yo corrí con mi esposa y
And that's when I ran with my wife.
nos tiramos al piso
We threw ourselves down on the ground.
y miraba donde los niños corrían por todos lados,
And we saw where the children were running in all directions.
porque en ese momento pues
Because at that moment,
sus padres no sabían dónde estaban, no podían encontrarlos.
their parents didn't know where they were. They couldn't find them.
Una niña llegó solita caminando, que no
One
sabía
little girl was
a
walking
dónde correr
by herself. She didn't know where to run.
y gracias a Dios sí, no
Thank
pasó
God,
nada.
nothing happened.
Pero sí esta persona lo único que él quería
Yes, but that person, the only thing he wanted
era matar a personas.
was to kill people.
Porque como una persona va
Because how is a person going to
a disparar a una casa
gonna
con
go
más de
shoot
50 personas,
at a house where there are more than 50 people?
100% nos quería matar.
100% he wanted to kill us.
Es todo.
That's all.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Question for you, sir.
Ajá.
How many bullet holes did you find in your house?
¿Cuántos hoyitos de balazo se encontró en su casa?
En la mera casa
At the house
están,
itself,
una entró en la puerta del basement,
one entered the basement door.
otra es la que atravesó arriba.
The one that went
La
through
cama.
upstairs that went through the bed.
En la sala está otra que atravesó 3 paredes.
And the living room is another one that went through 3 walls.
En la planta de abajo
And the main floor,
atravesó una por el costado del sur,
one of them went through the south side.
que pasó esa llegó al basement.
That one ended up in the basement.
Y del resto que pegaron en el piso,
And
esas.
the rest of them that landed on the ground.
Thank you, sir. Maribel Rodriguez.
I have here Maribel Paso Rodriguez. And Maribel says, oh, would you like to read it? ¿Quieres leer tú mismo? Okay. I have found myself getting headaches after the attack. I think that it's from the extra stress that I feel. I'm stressed whenever I hear loud noises because I link it to that deranged gunman. I also never find myself in groups with people. I don't know why this all makes me so nervous. I'm pretty sure it must relate back to the shooting. I have been dealing with a loss of sleep after the incident, and I replay that night over and over and over in my head, and it will keep me from sleeping. The flashbacks make me nervous and anxious, and I feel awake instead of tired at night.
I ask you to do justice
Que mi hija cumplió años el 31 de diciembre.
because my daughter turned one
Y no
on the
le pude
31st
celebrar los cumpleaños
of December and I couldn't celebrate her birthday
por ese miedo
because of fear
que tuvimos ese día los cumpleaños del niño.
of what happened when we went to celebrate the boy's birthday.
Lo que más me da tristeza
The thing that makes me the most sad
es que mi niña bien contenta esperando su cumpleaños.
that my daughter was happy waiting for her birthday
No se lo pudimos celebrar.
and we couldn't celebrate it.
Ese día, el 31 de diciembre, que todos estamos reunidos
That day, the 31st of December, that we were all gathered together
de final de año,
because of the end of the year,
hicimos una pequeña celebración nada más,
we did a very small celebration, nothing more.
pero ella creía que era su cumpleaños.
But she thought it was her birthday.
Ella decía, mami,
And she would say, Mommy,
llegan todos, pero no me traen regalos.
they're all here, but they didn't bring me presents.
Y yo le dije, "Ya no te podemos hacerte nada
And I said, well, we can't do anything more
por el miedo de que algo podía pasar.
because of fear that something would happen.
Y yo le pido al juez
And I'm asking the judge
que se haga esa justicia, que nuestras palabras
To
lo
do
tenga en cuenta, que no nos
justice.
las ignore.
and to take our words into account and not ignore us.
Gracias.
Thank you.
That is all the people that I have on my list. Was there anybody else that wanted to address the court before we go to the next stage?
No, Your Honor, that's it. Thank you.
All right, prosecution and defense. Was the pre-sentence investigation report timely made available to you?
It was, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's talk about the scoring of the advisory guidelines first. I've had an opportunity to meet with the attorneys to discuss the scoring of the advisory guidelines. And I believe that there is an agreement that a few modifications are required. Offense variable number 4, which is psychological injury to a victim, is currently scored at 0. The court has heard numerous accounts of people that suffered serious psychological injury that require professional treatment to a victim. Some children that were there are in fact receiving counseling as a result of it. There's others that are suffering from nightmares and flashbacks that certainly would benefit from some counseling. So the court would score offense variable 4 at 10 points. Do you agree, Mr. Stay?
The people agree, Your Honor.
Mr. Greer?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then we turn to offense variable number 9, which would be the number of victims. This was scored at 10 points by the probation department, which would indicate that either 2 to 9 victims were placed in danger of physical injury or death, or 4 to 19 victims were placed in danger of property loss. The court has heard the statements today that there were more than 50 people there, that there were, I can't get a sense of exactly how many shots there were, but certainly there was more than a dozen. The court heard numerous shots on the 911 call. The court, unless there's more that I'm not aware of, would score 25 points in that there were 10 or more victims that were placed in danger of physical injury or death. Mr. Stay, do you agree?
People agree, Your Honor.
Mr. Greer, do you have any quarrel with scoring that at 25?
No, Your Honor, I think based on what we heard today and based on what the report says, that's accurate.
All right, and then offense variable number 12, that is contemporaneous felonious criminal acts. That was scored at 0 points. A felonious criminal act is contemporaneous if it was committed within 24 hours of the sentencing offense, and the criminal act has not and will not result in a separate conviction. The court would be inclined to score 25 points there for 3 or more contemporaneous felonious criminal acts involving crimes against a person. And from the testimony of the number of people that were there, the number of shots that were fired, and the number of, luckily, near misses to people landing at their feet, getting dirt on them, having just moved just prior to the shot, the court believes that there's sufficient evidence to score 25 points for offense variable 12. Do you agree, Mr. Stay?
People agree, Your Honor. They could either be discharged in or out of building or felonious assault. I think the record evidence supports scoring that at 25 points.
Mr. Greer, any argument to the contrary?
No, Your Honor.
All right. With those modifications, the court would find that the offense variable points would be at 95. Mr. Greer, did you have any objection to the scoring of the prior record variables? It's currently scored at 0.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Stay, any objection to the scoring of the prior record variables at 0?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so then looking at sentencing grid class C with a 0 prior record variable points and 95 for the offense variable points, that would put the advisory guidelines at 29 on the minimum to a maximum of 57. Do you agree with that, Mr. Stay?
People agree, Your Honor.
Mr. Greer?
I agree, Your Honor. That was what I had anyway. So I do agree.
Okay. Now, turning to you, Mr. Greer, have you had the opportunity to read the report and discuss it with your client?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Do you have any additions, corrections, or challenges to that report?
Your Honor, I just have one correction on page 1. It says where employed. It indicates he's unemployed. That's not accurate. He was working at GM Wood Products at the time, and it does indicate that he was employed further on in the report.
Yeah, that's the way I understood. He was currently unemployed because he's incarcerated, but
That's correct, Your Honor.
he was working at
Well,
GM.
that's what it meant, and that's accurate.
And
But
then-
at the time of the incident, he was employed.
and that's what it would reflect under the employment condition. Anything else, sir?
No, I found it to be accurate, Your Honor.
I do have one question there. I'm looking at page 5 under family. the defendant's brother, Daniel. I think it's just a typo. It's listed as Boter, but I'm assuming that it's Bonter. Is that correct, sir?
Yeah, it is.
Bonter, all right.
The correct misspelling, Your Honor.
All right, so we'll have the probation agent to make that adjustment. Okay, is there anything that you'd like to say on your client's behalf before the court imposes sentence, Mr. Brewer?
Yes, Your Honor. I've known the Bonters, Cliff's parents prior to meeting Cliff for a long time. I've been in this community my whole life. I've practiced in this community almost 40 years, and the Bonners have been clients of mine over the years. I had the opportunity to meet Clifton during that period of time. The family they're very nice people. His parents are dead now, but his brother, same thing. He was full-time employment, never created a problem. I've never known Clifton to be assaultive or aggressive in his criminal history. And I'm sure that if the court were to find his prior employers and his high school, they would verify that. He has a few minor incidences with the law involving alcohol and maybe marijuana years ago, which was deferred and dismissed eventually. But when I heard that this incident had happened, and I knew, I know the area. And so, I'm thinking, okay, who lives down there that it could be? And when they said Clifton Bonter, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That's not the Clifton Bonner I know. It's not the Clifton Bonner that, it's certainly that his parents would have raised. I guess what I'm saying, Your Honor, is that this is an isolated incident. I don't think Clifton has any hatred in his system for anybody. And so then I go to the part about the alcohol. Clifton had been drinking a lot prior to this. He indicated in the report. I asked him, I said, Cliff, what's going on? When I first met him in the jail, and he goes, I don't have any recollection of what happened. And I believe that because it's not the Clifton Bonter that I know. And I understand, I heard the victims talking and my heart goes out to them that they're afraid to, congregate, they're afraid to meet in groups, they're afraid to have birthday parties. But if they're afraid of Clifton Bonner, they shouldn't be, because he's not a dangerous, violent guy. And so what I'm saying, Your Honor, is that I truly believe that it's the alcohol talk that did this. He's not that way. And so, I guess if I can reassure the victims, and I'm sure I can't, but if I could, I'd let them know that don't worry about Clifton Bonner. It's just not that way. And so it happened, and there's no question about it. And he feels bad. He feels horrible about this, as he should. And we're very grateful that nobody got hurt, physically hurt. And I would ask the court to consider the recommendation that was made by the prosecutor. I know that Mr. Stay and myself worked hard to get this thing taken care of, and I appreciate that. And for my client, I would just let the victims know that he's truly sorry. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. And Mr. Bonter, have you had the opportunity to read the report and discuss it with Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Do you have any additions, corrections, or challenges other than the ones that Mr. Greer raised?
No, I do not.
Is there anything that you'd like to say on your own behalf before the court imposes a sentence?
I would just like to apologize. I know no amount of apologies will fill the void that they feel at the moment right now, but I truly am sorry that the judge doesn't have that.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Stay, any additions, corrections, or challenges?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything that you want the court to consider?
Yes, Your Honor. First of all, I want to thank everybody that was here today for making a statement. I know it's difficult, especially when the offender is in the room. I want to thank you all for that. I can't say anything to you, Your Honor, that's going to be more effective than what you just heard. This is a tremendously dangerous event. Alcohol cannot be an excuse for this type of behavior. I agree with Mr. Greer that this is, defendant does not have a substantial prior record, but some crimes are not really informed by that. They are so violent and in a way random for these people who don't even know this person. We see a lot of domestic violence and assaults because of some sort of domestic situation. Here, these people were just trying to enjoy the day with their family and were met with a hail of gunfire. And again, for the benefit of the people here, the state police did follow up to try to identify whether there was another individual, and there just is not enough evidence presented to my office to charge another individual. And I know a lot of people in this room think there may have been someone else. And that is possible, but it was not possible to bring charges. I would ask that the court go above the recommended sentence, but also stay within the terms of the plea agreement and sentence the defendant to the 29 months to 15 years with the consecutive 24-month felony firearm.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so we are dealing here with two offenses. Count one is the firearms discharging in or out of building causing injury. As the court indicated that the advisory guidelines would suggest a sentence between 29 and 57 months on the minimum. The maximum is set by statute at 15 years. The court is going to exercise my discretion and sentence consistent with the advisory guidelines and consistent with the agreement in this case. There was an agreement in this case that Mr. Bonter would receive 29 months in prison for this count. So the sentence of the court would be they would serve 29 months on the minimum to a maximum of 15 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections. He would receive credit for the 248 days that he's served so far.
Your Honor, I believe it should be 258 days because this was originally scheduled for the 11th.
Yes, that's correct. So make that 258 days.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I appreciate that. So that'd be 258 days credit on count one. There is a $68 state cost assessment and $130 crime victims rights fund fee. Then for count two, that is the felony firearm. That is a 2-year offense. It is consecutive and preceding the underlying offense. So it would be the sentence of the court. This defendant served 2 years in prison for count two, consecutive to and preceding count one. There's a $68 state cost assessment for count two. I too want to thank all the members of the community that came to share their experience. I want to thank the legal aid department that has helped these people have a voice in the system today. I appreciate that. I know the rest of the community appreciates that as well. These cases are hard. I mean, you people have been affected and will remain affected for a number of years. And as I'm hearing the accounts of what happened, I can only think of, it was like a movie. It was like a bit of a war movie where soldiers are shooting at other soldiers, not individuals, not citizens, not people that haven't been trained, they haven't been exposed to that. But there they were running for their lives, they're diving, they're trying to cover the kids. I can't imagine how traumatic that was to all of them. And there's no doubt that you carry those effects for a long time. If they ever go away, I don't know. As Mr. Greer indicated, that there's certainly nothing in Mr. Bonter's criminal history that would have suggested that this was going to happen. There was nothing in his social history that would reflect that he had anything against Hispanics or anything like that. It's pretty clear that alcohol was a major factor, but there's feelings, there's thoughts, there's things that are brought out by alcohol, which really makes this whole thing inexplicable. We're not talking about a single shot up in the air to get somebody's attention. We're talking about multiple shots, hitting homes, hitting at people's feet, dirt flying, dust flying. And it's hard to make any sense of an explanation that I was drunk with the number of shots and the damage that was done. So unfortunately, there's only one person that knows what was going on with Mr. Bonter at the time, and that's Mr. Bonter. And the rest of us can speculate or surmise, but he's the only one that knows. So now the court is sentencing him to the maximum penalty that I could under the plea agreement that was reached after many discussions between the defense and the prosecution. So that is the sentence of the court for Mr. Bonter. The court would direct that those financial assessments be collected through the inmate account and parole process. Mr. Bonter, you do have the right to make application for you to appeal your conviction and sentence. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court will appoint an attorney to represent you at public expense. To request for a lawyer must be filed with the court within 42 days. And I do have a receipt of your signed acknowledgement that you got those appeal papers. Mr. Stay, was there something that you wanted to say?
Yes, Your Honor. I have not looked at this issue recently because we don't get a lot of firearm charges. But I believe the 258 days credit should be to that count as opposed to count one, because because of the statutory language of it being proceeding. So that's the first sentence, and I believe that the credit should go on felony firearm, not on count one.
I don't get a lot of those types of cases, and it's confusing language. So it's consecutive, but proceeding. So it comes first, but it also comes last. So, so I think I'm going to leave it as is. I will double check that issue. And one thing that is clear is that he only gets 258 days credit.
Right.
As to one of these offenses, because they are consecutive. I think the way I imposed the sentence was correct, but if it's not, I would switch it around and give him a credit for the 248 against the felony firearm with 0 credit on the firearms discharging at or towards the building. So
it was 258.
258. Yeah. All right, that's all for today.